And Bell. Okay, we are rolling again here. Page 19 is our 2016 debt service budget. This is non-TIF district and non-utility related debt service on borrowing. And you'll see that they're divided up between bonds and then down about 6 lines or so, 5 lines, it says bonds interest, and then you'll see the principal on the water, the interfund transfer, and then the interest on that too. So it's just divided off principal and interest for informational. Our municipal court budget is next. Again, that municipal court position is 50% here and 50% under the clerk's salary, along with their associated legal fees and training and computer services and the like.
We might need to increase training a little bit with the new hire, but we could probably juggle that with something else in that budget.
Can you, Angela, tell me what the revenue is for the court for the year?
If we were at City Hall, I could pull it up in a minute. I would say probably 30, we budget about $30,000, I believe, for court revenue, and I think we're probably above budget on that this year.
So it costs us about $18,000 a year more to do business than what it brings in.
Court is not a revenue producing.
I understand, I'm not suggesting we have cops writing tickets to try to raise revenue. But it costs us more than what it brings in.
I believe so. Like I say, I'd have to run that report.
Okay, any other comments or questions about the municipal court?
I have a question. And court health insurance went from $39.57 in 2015 to $15,650.
Well, when we, at the time this budget went to press, we were in the process of hiring someone to replace Judy, who had resigned from the city. That is the estimate for family coverage. We wanted to estimate high because we didn't know if the person that we would hire would take family coverage. I was just mentioning to Mayor Kimmel, our new hire starts November 30th and she will have single coverage. It's kind of a wash though because we have Bill Chang, who currently has single coverage, is going to family. So there's going to be a flop between the two budgets, which will
Even each other out.
I kind of have a follow-up question. So that is completely budgeted in, so the health insurance is completely budgeted in court health insurance, but I'm guessing her salary is more than, it's only partially budgeted, or is that all that the court clerk was making, the $17,600, is that her full-time wages?
the new hire is at $17 an hour. That is half court, half clerk.
So should the court health insurance, that should only be half then?
It should be, and
Because she's half-time working for the,
right, so I'll have to verify that, Rob, that's a good catch.
Here we got 2016 elected officials budget.
Question on the,
Yes,
you got some notebooks this year. Where does that show up in here?
my best guess is if you look down to 2015 year-to-date expenses, expenses as well as the projected year end, go down to the very last line under council where it says council supplies and expenses.
Okay.
Those are $1,500 a piece.
They were a considerable cost.
So that's only.
No, they weren't $1,500 a piece.
I know, I thought it said-
I was thinking about 6 or 7.
Oh,
They were under 1,000.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm
We got a deal on it.
not a computer guru. What's this?
Still not enough. That's projected if they're included in that.
The notebook?
Right.
Well, that wasn't this year.
Yeah.
That would have gone under this year's expense.
That was anticipated as a one-time expense.
So,
Good night, Frank Andrew. Okay, we got the capital improvement plan, budget. What we have in there are the HRA expenses and then the annexation payback expenses. The HRA is, do you wanna give a brief explanation of the HRA?
Probably 5 years ago, the city instituted a health reimbursement account. They went with a higher health premium deductible. And then, on the deductible expenses and some of the other co-pays for emergency room co-pays, with going with a higher expense, if an employee utilizes that, then they submit their expenses to a third party, and the city reimburses that. Part of, our utilization on the health reimbursement account is about 24% at the high end. Part of that 31,000, with moving to the WEA Trust Consortium, we need to prepay a month's premium into that consortium. Kind of, I can't explain that the best, John, but kind of as a prepayment, just as a consortium gets going over the next couple of years. The annexation payback expense, when we annex land from a township for the next 5 years, the value of the township portion, so let's say the township had property and the property taxes was $5,000 and the town portion of that tax bill was $1,000. Whoever annexes that piece of property has to pay back the township that $1,000 over the next 5 years. That's just a rule.
But if there's any improvements, the township doesn't get that portion, correct?
They get the value of the property the year it was annexed. So if if we annexed a property mid-year, did we do the Myers, which one did we do this year? The Sensala annexation we did this year. So because it was in the township as of January 1st, the tax bill that the township gets for that parcel in 2015, the township portion of that, they are gonna charge back to the city in 2016 for the next 5 years. But if once that's annexed and improvements are made on that, they only get the share at the time it was annexed.
Right, thank you.
On page 23, we've got the stormwater budget, and that includes sewer supplies and expenses, capital outlay, and then the curb and gutter capital outlay. One of the big things that we do with the storm sewer is if it needs to be replaced or cleaned, and then oftentimes if you go along the street and you'll see a catch basin that's not flush, it'll be sitting crooked, or if it's broken up, or if it's been undermined by a hole in one of the pipes and the earth, the dirt around it gets washed away, then Raleigh will go and fix those. Sometimes they've been farmed out to a contractor. Oftentimes Raleigh has saved the city a lot of money by building some of those boxes and doing a lot of that work himself. So we budgeted money each year, and we found some doozies. There's been some that have been undermined so bad that I know there was one over on the corner of Homestead and 2nd Avenue that you had you guys over there for a full day, and they were waist deep on down there just because of the working.
Yeah, there's some old ones that dealt with bricks and blocks, and we had one, I don't remember if that was this year or last fall, that basically completely collapsed.
Where was it?
We cleaned it, I remember that. We cleaned it all out, and I built a box in the ground right there. Rather than dig it all up and excavate it, it would have been a $7,000-8,000 project, so. We did it for probably $500 plus some labor, a day's worth of labor.
Sean, you were gonna ask a question, or were you just, okay, I couldn't tell if your hand was up or if you were resting, so. Okay, 2016 contracted services, before we get into those,
I remember it was on the bottom of Barn Street.
Yep.
yep,
That's where it was.
that was a big one.
Yep.
Before we get into the specific contracted services for the budget, on tonight's agenda, you are going to see under number 4, letters A and B, discussion of the chimney rock appraisal contract for 2016 through 2020, as well as computer services contract with the DCC Now LLC Computer Services for 2016 as well. Copies of those were handed out to the council. The agreement for the assessor looks like this, and it says agreement on the top. And then the other one looks like this, it says DCC Now. So we will discuss the chimney rock one first.
We had two choices on this contract. One was a 4-year contract, one was a 5-year contract. In just talking with Mayor Kimmel and Barrett Brenner, we know, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, we did a complete revaluation. It's something that we are on target to do every 5 years or so.
Our next one's due in 2018.
Yes.
We did it in 2008 and then 2013.
So going with a 4-year contract, they would have their annual maintenance fee and then the annual revaluation fee. Going with a 5-year contract, they would have the annual maintenance fee and the revaluation fee, but spreading it out over 5 years, knowing that we are only gonna need one revaluation in 5 years instead of 4 years, it's actually, it ends up being $1,000 a month, or a year less for the contract. So I think it makes sense if we know we're only gonna need to do one revaluation in the next 5-year period. He does a very nice job, he's very thorough, he gets back to people, he's easy to work with. The last time that we went through the contract for an assessor, we had solicited out RFPs, and that was 3 years ago. And they were very competitive with their pricing at that time, and they have not increased their cost.
So the first page is the agreement, the second page are the specifications and what'll be done, and the third page is the payment schedule.
Question maybe on property insurance, is that what the insurance expense is?
Say again,
From the
please.
bottom on contracted services, page 24.
Can you restate that a little louder,
On
please?
page 24,
Okay.
insurance expense, 65,000, is that for the property insurance?
Yeah, we're gonna get to that, we're right now looking at the agreement
Oh, I'm sorry.
with the assessor.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept their 5-year contract. As stated in black and white.
Did you have a question about the agreement that's in front of you?
What is the dollar amount?
It is a 5-year contract for $65,000, so $13,000 per year. It looks like each year in January, there will be a 4,000, who asked the question? Okay, I knew it was coming from this direction. Looks like the first payment of each year would be due the end of January for $4,300. The second payment would be due the end of May for $4,300, and the third and final payment of each year would be the last day of September, $4,400 to equal the $13,000.
Did you have a second on that?
Not yet.
Oh, second.
Motion by Mr. Feltes, seconded by Ms. Colstead to approve the agreement with Chimney Rock Appraisal. Any comments or questions on this?
May I ask why it's labeled as insurance expense versus assessor's contract or something like that? I mean, just,
Where is it labeled insurance expense?
I see $65,000 down at the bottom of total contract and services,
Negative,
wrong place.
absolutely the wrong place. The 2016 total costs are right here of $13,000, and that is right here. This is a total unrelated issue, and we'll get to that in a moment.
Okay, it said $65,000 and then I saw the $65,000.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
That 65,000, just to clarify for everybody's understanding, is split up over those 5 years. So again, 13,000 per year.
In the contract.
Yeah. And that would be the payment schedule on page 3 of the contract. So Mrs. Berg will accept the vote on this, please.
Wojni? Oh. Conrad?
Abstain.
Kinsella?
Yeah.
Feltes?
Yes.
Fetch?
Yes,
Colstead?
Yes.
Thank you. We have a BCC Now LLC contract price for the city of Arcadia for their computer services that they provide.
And can I just ask, we don't have the actual contract, and there was a question on insurance on this, and someone had asked what their contract price was last year, and I don't have that with me. Can you guys, you know, talk about the changes that he wants to make, but I will get you we may have to have a new contract, and we don't have that ready tonight.
And motion we postpone this until we have the proper documentation.
Second.
Mrs. Berg, there's been a motion and a
So I need a
second.
vote when this happens.
Okay, we're gonna go back to the 2016 contracted services budget.
Assessor's expense manufacturing.
Can you ask Mrs. Berg?
Angela, what is the assessor's expense manufacturing for $3,000?
The Department of Revenue actually does the assessing for our manufacturing,
Okay.
and they bill us every January for that.
so where's Marv's BCC now? 33,600 in this, is that accounting and audit?
It's under City Hall Computer Services and Police Department Computer Services.
It's estimated, if you would turn to page 4, you'll see the 4th line down under City Hall Maintenance Budget, City Hall Computer Services, and then if you flip over to page,
We're not on page 24.
we are on page 24, but it's subdivided between the different departments, and that gives you the opportunity to see where it is in the actual budgeted area for each department. And then if you flip over to page 12. Give me a second. If you follow the numbers way at the far left side, go to the last 4, that's say 3402. Do you see that?
Yes.
It says Police Computer Services. So,
And I don't have the breakdown with me, and I'll have that when you guys approve the contract. not 100% of the city hall computer services. Part of that is for Clarity, which is our accounting system, and our annual maintenance on that. And part of BCC now is allocated over to the utilities, because he also does all the utility, the maintenance on the utility computers and the server that houses both the accounting software and the utility software. And I will have that for you when you guys approve the contract.
Thank you. We've got accounting and auditing with Johnson and Block. We'll be beginning our auditing here in short order. Legal for 25. We've got publication of notices for 5,000. We've got the recycling purchase services, which was approved last evening. We've got a rodent control expense. You'd be shocked at what we find. And then the last one, Mrs. Berg, the insurance expense. That's
The insurance expense includes property insurance, workers' comp, and vehicle.
Did you guys see the added expense that, are you guys with Wisconsin County, or not Wisconsin counties, but,
Local government property insurance,
Yeah.
yes.
what did I know the county's rate went up for roughly 80%, and we removed ourselves from it.
We were able to renew last year under the current rate, so we didn't see that large of a difference. Next year remains to be seen.
Because obviously, I think there's a lot of cities and counties that are removing themselves, as well as townships. So I'd imagine those rates at 80% increase are gonna skyrocket next year.
Yes.
Do you budget for your deductibles
Which deductibles?
on your property insurance?
Angela? I know in the past, Ryan's always administered that, so, I haven't participated in that.
Specifically, do we budget a certain amount per deductible? No, but, if you look at the overall budget, of 60 at the end of the year, and the budgeted was 65, I guess there was a little bit built in case we used our deductibles.
5,000?
Yes. And that's hard to plan, because sometimes it'll be zero and sometimes it'll be $15,000 for a roof.
That's a lot.
Can I go back? Rob, you asked about that expense that was different between the city website and the budget.
Yep.
I'm not exactly sure what happened, and I will check with Carla on her spreadsheet. That 34,396.64 was actually for the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
And the account was right, the title was wrong. So if you look on the website, it had like, the codification, and then and it said codification twice, but there were two. The codification was one amount, this 34,396. I have a copy of the trial balance with me, and that's for the comprehensive plan. The rewrite of the comprehensive update that we did this year.
So that number on the website's correct then?
For the comprehensive plan, but the description on the website says codification, and it's not for the codification.
Okay.
So we'll talk with Mrs. Johnson about fixing that then.
Yeah, we'll get that fixed.
Okay, on page 25, we've got the appointed boards budget, which include the Planning Commission, Economic Development Committee, and the Zoning Board of Appeals. Again, several of these are unknowns as far as how often they're going to meet and what is required. So there was an estimate on how often the different groups would meet. I believe it's 35 per meeting? And,
There's 6. On the planning commission, there's 6.
I'm not sure, I don't have the card in front of me. So, that includes salary, social security, and then, any, expenses in a couple of those, publication, whatever. And then we've got an economic development budget on page 26 as far as efforts that economic development community would do for economic development in the community. An example of that would be the report that, Bill had brought to you guys, I think, 2 meetings ago that had to do with,
Feasibility study?
I don't remember what it was called, but it was a market feasibility study or something like that, yeah. I don't have the exact name for it, but you guys remember, what was the name of that? It was some market feasibility study or manufacturing or commerce or something like that.
And I just don't know, you know, that total cost of that was 7,500. I don't know whether we're gonna see that invoice, you know, that 5,000 before the end of the year, or if part of that will get paid next year, but.
Okay. That's yours.
I'm sorry, could you speak a little bit?
That fellow, question. That fellow that was here that talked about that that development,
Feasibility study?
feasibility, there you go. Where did that come from? That wasn't budgeted or paid out, where did that expense come out? Did that come out last 2015 expense, shouldn't that be somewhere? 75?
3 minutes ago, Angela preempted that with the answer to that question as well. She said that we have not gotten the invoice for that yet,
Yeah,
but yes, it will be, coming out of there. Out of right where you just said, Ian.
So that projected year end, instead of being 2,500, should be 7,500.
Question on the bid district supplies and expenses. Since we've been rather non-functional being the bid president for a number of years, what was that for?